Hi there. So today actually I think about, in order to talk about something that is especially related to myself as well, because it's been quite a while that I started to learning English with you. So I think you may understand my current level and the method I follow. So recently I watched a video about the best learning method or education method in the world right now. So according to that, the professor that gave that lecture is mentioned that the best learning method is right now is analyzing your current level at the same time and getting instant feedback. So when he said that, I actually remembered the right now the way I learning English, because I also try to learn English with the instant feedback. So I think that the method I use is kind of effective and will help me to understand where the areas I went wrong. So right now I think it is a good approach, but I have some of the questions regarding the method I follow. So I want to clarify all of those questions in this conversation. That is why I try to reach you today. So like we did a previous conversation, give me the corrected version first and then give you an answer. So in that way, I think I can learn English and improve where I went wrong as well.
Sure, I can definitely help with that. Here's a corrected version of what you said. Hi there. So today I was thinking about something related to myself because it's been quite a while since I started learning English with you. So I think you may understand my current level and the method I follow. Recently, I watched a video about the best learning or education method in the world right now. According to that, the professor giving the lecture mentioned that the best learning method is analyzing your current level and getting instant feedback simultaneously. When he said that, I actually remembered the way I'm learning English because I also try to learn with instant feedback. So I think the method I'm using is effective and will help me understand where I go wrong. I believe it's a good approach, but I have some questions regarding the method I follow. I want to clarify all those questions in this conversation, which is why I'm reaching out to you today. Like we did in the previous conversation, please give me the corrected version first and then answer my questions. That way, I think I can learn English and improve where I went wrong as well. Now, what questions do you have about the method you're using? I'm here to help you clarify everything.
So, basically the question, I have several questions. So first of all, the method I talk about is called the student-centric learning. So according to that method, it is, described that in order to learn something effectively, whatever you are learning, you need the instant feedback on what you are doing. And apart from that, testing yourself instantly is really helpful to understand your current level and where you went wrong. And at the same time, it also helps you to improve whatever you are doing. So when it comes to learning English, my problem is how can I apply those theories into my learning English? Because I know whenever I practice English, whenever I practice speaking English with you, I try to get the corrected version. So because of that, why I ask that is because of that I feel like, so then I can identify where the areas I make mistakes, or how can I say the what I have to say in a correct way. So whenever I listen to them in a second time, I really can grasp the detailed idea of what is I went wrong, what is I said wrong, and how should I say it correctly in likewise. But the problem is, I don't think I am getting enough feedbacks. That is true that I am getting the corrected version, but I don't think that is exactly helped me to improve my English 100% because I know when it comes to the communication, the grammatical structure is not very 100% you need to somewhat consider. But, but fundamentally, in order to speak English fluently, I need to understand and master the fundamental and grammar structure of the English. So I know it is really a crucial thing. So the problem right now I'm having is how can I implement this student-centric learning into my language learning, the way I learning language, because I also found out I only have limited access to speak with the, real person. And, when I speak with a real person, it's really hard to get the feedback from them on my speaking, especially for the minor details and the errors I made. So that is why I try to using, such as a AI platform, so I can rely on them 100% and get the instant feedback on whatever I say. So I really need to understand how can I implement this student-centric learning into my language learning. So in that way, I think I can improve my English really fast than my current level.
Here's a corrected version of what you said. So, basically, I have several questions. First of all, the method I'm talking about is called student-centric learning. According to that method, it's described that in order to learn something effectively, whatever you're learning, you need instant feedback on what you're doing. Additionally, testing yourself instantly is really helpful for understanding your current level and identifying where you went wrong. At the same time, it also helps you improve whatever you're doing. When it comes to learning English, my problem is how I can apply these theories to my language learning. Whenever I practice speaking English with you, I try to get the correct version of what I said because I believe that helps me identify where I've made mistakes and how I say things correctly. When I listen to the corrected version a second time, I can really grasp the details of what I said wrong and how to say it correctly. But the problem is, I don't think I'm getting enough feedback. It's true that I'm getting the corrected version, but I don't think that alone helps me improve my English 100%. I know that when it comes to communication, the grammatical structure is not something you need to consider 100% of the time. But fundamentally, to speak English fluently, I need to understand and master the fundamental grammar structures. I know this is really crucial. So the problem I'm facing now is how can I implement this student-centric learning into the way I'm learning the language? I also found that I only have limited access to speaking with real people. And when I do, it's really hard to get feedback from them on my speaking, especially for minor details and errors. That's why I try to use platforms like AI, so I can rely on them 100% and get instant feedback on whatever I say. I really need to understand how I can implement this student-centric learning into my language learning so that I can improve my English faster than my current level. Now, to answer your question about implementing student-centric learning into your English studies. 1. To answer your question about implementing student-centric learning into your English practice, here are some steps you can consider. 1. Instant feedback. You're already on the right track by getting instant corrections on your speaking. To make this more effective, you might want to ask for more detailed explanations about why certain corrections are made. For example, if a sentence structure is corrected, understanding the grammatical rule behind it can deepen your learning. 2. Self-testing. Try testing yourself immediately after a learning session. For instance, after our conversation, you could summarize what you've learned or practice using the corrected sentences in new context. You can also use language learning apps or flashcards to test your understanding of vocabulary and grammar regularly. 3. Active revision. Revisit the corrections and feedback you've received. Repetition is key to reinforcing learning. For example, you could keep a journal of your corrected sentences and review them periodically to see if you've internalized the corrections. Or real-life practice. Since you have limited access to speaking with real people, you might want to find online language exchange partners or join conversation clubs. This way, you can apply what you've learned in real conversations, even if they're virtual. 5. Focus on grammar fundamentals. Since you mentioned that mastering the basic grammar structure is crucial, consider dedicating specific study sessions to grammar. You can use grammar-focused resources or exercises to strengthen your understanding and application of these rules. By combining these strategies, you can apply student-centric learning more effectively to your English studies and likely see faster improvement. Does this approach seem helpful to you?
Yeah, I think it will definitely helpful for me. But I also have some additional question, that is because, right now, like I said you earlier, even though I don't have any access to a English tutor, I really have access to this, AI platform. So whenever I have this free time, I can practice English using this AI platform like ChatGPT or Fully Fluent, which is an app that I found, help us to build a conversation with AI, and they also give us the answers while we can refer to the corrections that the area we make something wrong. So I have access to such technologies, but the problem is, even though I learning through them, I don't feel I'm making any progress at all, because the way I speak is I already way I speak. I really have no idea whether I implement some of the grammar structure correctly or use the new vocabulary correctly, because whenever I speak, I just try to speak naturally in my mind. So when I do that, I really don't have any idea of whether I using this grammar structure correctly. And when it comes to using the vocabulary, I'm also not sure about whether I using the correct vocabulary, because in right now also I'm just speaking on my mind without thinking too much, because I think if I start to think too much on when I'm speaking, it will be really awkward. I think you may understand, because whenever I start to think, there is a slight pause after every word and every sentence. So I don't think that is suitable to, do a natural conversation with another person. So how can I actually address this issue? Because I can get the feedback. So like I said, and then I can also intentionally listen to my recording. I think there is a way I need to do, but apart from that, is there any other way I can follow in order to, catch the mistakes I made and correct them in my next conversation? So I think in that way, I can really fasten up my language learning.
Here's the corrected version of what you said. Yeah, I think that will definitely be helpful for me, but I also have some additional questions. Like I said earlier, even though I don't have access to an English tutor, I do have access to AI platforms. So whenever I have free time, I can practice English using these AI platforms like ChatGPT or Fully Fluent, which is an app I found that helps build conversations with AI. And they also give us corrections for the areas where we make mistakes. So I have access to such technologies, but the problem is that even though I'm learning through them, I don't feel like I'm making any progress. The way I speak is already the way I speak, and I really have no idea whether I'm implementing some of the grammar structures correctly or using new vocabulary correctly, because when I speak, I just try to speak naturally in my mind. When I do that, I really don't know if I'm using grammar structures correctly, and I'm also not sure if I'm using the correct vocabulary. Right now, I'm just speaking without thinking too much, because if I start to think too much when I'm speaking, it becomes really awkward. I think you might understand, because whenever I start to think, there's a slight pause after every word and sentence, and I don't think that's suitable for having a natural conversation with another person. So, how can I actually address this issue? I can get feedback, like I said, and then I can also intentionally listen to my recording. I think there's a way I need to do this, but apart from that, is there any other way I can follow in order to catch the mistakes I make and correct them in my next conversation? I think that way I can really speed up my language learning. Now, let's address your concern. It's great that you're practicing with AI platforms, but I understand that it can feel like you're not making much progress. Here are some suggestions to help you address the issues you're facing. So 1, record and review your conversations. You mentioned listening to your recording, which is an excellent practice. To take it a step further, try to focus on specific aspects of your speech during playback. For example, in one session, focus solely on grammar. In another, pay attention to your vocabulary usage. This targeted approach will help you identify patterns and areas that need improvement. Create a checklist. Before starting a conversation, prepare a checklist of grammar structures or vocabulary you want to practice. After the conversation, go back to your checklist and see how well you incorporated those elements. This will help you stay focused on your goals and monitor your progress. Slow down and reflect. While it's true that overthinking can lead to awkward pauses, slowing down a little can be beneficial, especially when you're trying to correct specific mistakes. Take a moment to reflect on what you're saying, especially if you're practicing alone or with AI. It's okay to pause briefly if it helps you articulate your thoughts more accurately. Self-testing. After your conversations, try to write down what you said, focusing on key points or sentences. Then compare your written version to what you actually said. This exercise can reveal whether you're applying the grammar and vocabulary correctly in both spoken and written forms. Engage with native content. Immerse yourself in content like podcasts, movies, or books where native speakers use natural language. Try to imitate their intonation, sentence structures, and vocabulary. This will help you internalize the patterns of natural speech. This is when you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say in real time. It's a great way to improve pronunciation, intonation, and fluency without the need to overthink every word. By combining these strategies with the instant feedback you're already getting, you'll likely see more progress in your language learning. Does this approach sound helpful to you?
Yeah, I think that is somewhat helpful. And, another problem that I encounter while I look into this language learning is most of the AI platforms are required some of the subscription fee. I think you may also understand that. So as a student, right now I am really depend on my parents. So it is quite hard for me to actually, find the money to pay for those platforms. So I tried to look into the free versions of most of the platforms, but at the same time, I experienced that the free versions are not very effective as the paid version, because paid versions offer a much more benefit and the advanced features than the free versions, which is really help for me as a language learner. So that is why I try to go with the paid version of the most of the speaking assistant platforms. So, like I said, when it comes to the finding funds for my language learning, I actually give it a try for several ways, like selling something online, starting freelancing. So I really didn't get much of the result on most of the ways. So I really need to know, is there any, as a model, you may have an idea about what are the possible options that a students can, implement in order to earn some money. So I need to know some possible options that I can follow in order to earn some money for a particular month. I think for now I need around $100 per month. So, but the question is, I really don't have any idea how can I earn $100 per month. I know it is a really small amount, but when it comes to our country, it is somewhat really high due to the currency rate difference. So anyway, I really need to know methods I can follow in order to earn $100 a month. Uh, especially, I think, especially I would like to consider about the online method rather than physical methods I can use, because I found that physical methods are somewhat difficult for me, and there is a huge constraint as well. So I really need to know, is there any method I can follow? I'm not seeking any particular method. Just give me a general answer, or general answer about the possibilities that I have. So I think in that way, I can really, follow some of the methods and earn somewhat money in order to improve my language learning.
Here's a corrected version of what you said. Yeah, I think that is somewhat helpful. Another problem I encounter while learning a language is that most AI platforms require a subscription fee. As a student, I'm really dependent on my parents right now, so it's quite hard for me to find the money to pay for those platforms. I've tried using the free versions of most platforms, but I've noticed that the free versions are not as effective as the paid ones, because the paid versions offer more benefit and advanced features that are really helpful for me as a language learner. That's why I want to go with the paid versions of most speaking assistant platforms. When it comes to finding funds for my language learning, I've tried several ways, like selling things online and freelancing, but I haven't had much success. So I need to know what possible options I can consider to earn some money. As a model, you might have some ideas about ways I can earn around $100 per month. I know it's a small amount, but in my country, it's actually quite a lot due to the currency rate difference. I'd prefer to focus on online methods rather than physical ones, because physical methods are more difficult for me, and there are many constraints. I'm not looking for any particular method, just a general idea of the possibilities I have so that I can follow some of them and earn some money to improve my language skills. Now, let's explore some general online methods you could use to earn around $100 per month. Shadow 1, freelance gigs. While you mentioned that you haven't had much success with freelancing, it's worth considering platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, or Freelancer. You can offer services such as graphic design, content writing, translation, or even language tutoring if you're comfortable. Microtasks. Websites like Amazon Mechanical Turk, Clickworker, or Appen offer small tasks that you can complete for money. These tasks usually don't require specific skills, so they could be a good way to earn some extra cash. Selling digital products. If you have graphic design skills, consider creating and selling digital products like printables, digital art, or social media templates on platforms like Etsy, Creative Market, or Gumroad. Online surveys and user testing. Websites like Swagbucks, Survey Junkie, and User Testing pay for completing surveys, testing websites, or giving feedback on products. While the payouts are usually small, they can add up over time. Affiliate marketing. If you have a blog or a social media following, you can promote products and earn a commission on sales through affiliate marketing. Amazon Associate, ShareASale, and other affiliate networks offer opportunities for this. Teaching or tutoring. If you feel confident in any subject, you can offer online tutoring services through platforms like Chegg Tutors, Preply, or even directly to students in your community. Content creation. Starting a YouTube channel or blog can eventually become a source of income through ad revenue, sponsorships, and affiliate marketing. This takes time, but can be a rewarding long-term option. Selling unused items. If you have items you no longer need, consider selling them on platforms like eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or local classifieds. These are general ideas that can be adapted based on your skills and interests. Even if some methods take a bit of time to build up, they can provide you with a steady income in the long run. Would any of these options be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think some of them will be a good fit for me. So I think we have talked a lot about today. So can you give me a overall feedback on especially where I went wrong and what I need to focus and how can I improve them? Because I think we also talk about this student-centric learning. So in that, we also discussed that the specific feedback is really important to improve our English. So I just don't need any whole explanation of where I went wrong and how can I improve them. Just give me a, brief, somewhat, similar to a conclusion type, where I went wrong and how can I improve. So even it is a one sentence, I really appreciate, because if I correct them in my next conversation, I can see it as an improvement.
Sure. Here's a brief summary of where you went wrong and how you can improve. Feedback. 1. Grammar. You sometimes struggle with using the correct tense and sentence structure. For example, you tend to mix past and present tenses or use awkward phrasing. 2. Vocabulary usage. While your vocabulary is good, you sometimes choose words that don't quite fit the context or are slightly off in meaning. Sentence clarity. Some of your sentences are a bit long and complex, which can make them hard to follow. Shorter, more direct sentences would make your ideas clearer. How to improve? 1. Focus on tense consistency. Pay attention to the tense you're using in your sentences to ensure they are consistent. Practicing simple sentence constructions can help with this. 2. Expand and refine vocabulary. Try to learn more about word usage and collocations to better understand how words naturally fit together in English. 3. Simplify your sentences. Break down longer sentences into shorter ones. This will help you express your ideas more clearly and make it easier for others to understand you. By focusing on these areas in your next conversations, you'll likely see noticeable improvement. Keep practicing.